Hey guys, it's Brigitte with San Diego Seed Company, and it's fall, and that means it's time to plant garlic. I'm gonna give you all the instructions on how to plant garlic, where to source your garlic, how deep you need to plant it, how much you need to water, everything you need to know. But before I do that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put out a video. Okay, so garlic is one of those crops that I think is gaining popularity because people are realizing how easy it is to grow and how much better tasting your garlic is when you grow it at home from really rare, unique varieties that are only available when you purchase garlic seed. It's very easy to grow. But what's important to remember is there are a few common mistakes that you can make, and I want you to avoid those. So I'm gonna go over all of those different mistakes that people make. But first, let's talk about where you get your garlic seed. Now, this doesn't really look like a seed, right, that you hold in your hand, but this is what we call seed garlic, because these are the cloves that I'm going to plant back into the garden. This is actually from garlic that we've harvested on the farm, and I'm gonna break it apart. And I'm going to take one individual clove, and I'm gonna plant that into the garden, and this is what we call seed garlic. Now this is garlic, like I mentioned, that we actually grew on our farm. This is a really neat variety called Sicilian garlic. Love it. And what I love about this variety is its intense, insane flavor that is so delicious, that totally beats any garlic that you buy at the store. We grew it, I harvested it, let it dry, let it cure. Now it's to the point where it can get planted back into the garden, and this is what we call seed garlic. Now, for those of you who are super savvy and, budget gardeners, yes, you can buy garlic from the store and you can plant that garlic. That's absolutely a thing that can be done. There are some kind of drawbacks of that. One of them being that the garlic that you get at the store is run-of-the-mill white garlic. There's nothing really that exciting about it. It's not really interesting flavors or varieties, and chances are it's gonna be kind of puny in flavor. So if you want unique, rare, interesting varieties, you have to buy it in garlic seed form that you plant out, you grow, and then you harvest and you enjoy in your kitchen. That's problem numero uno. The other problem is they're not certified disease-free. So all of the garlic, the clove seeds that we sell, we actually send off to a lab to ensure that it is disease-free. We're not putting any allium diseases in our garden from our garlic, which is really important. And now the last reason is this is going to be very fresh garlic that is grown specifically for planting in your garden. Garlic that you get from the store has been harvested, it's been cleaned, it's been sitting at the store, and it might be already in the process of dehydrating, which means that you're gonna have less luck actually getting it to germinate or sprout, which is really important. So those are kind of the three reasons why you might decide to get garlic seed from a garlic seller versus getting it from the store. But whatever you do, plant garlic in your garden because you are totally not gonna regret it. Now let's say you go out and get your garlic, where are you going to plant it? So I've got a nice little raised bed here, and the beautiful thing about garlic is there are no excuses as far as space goes with garlic. You can plant it in a tiny little pot. You can plant it in a raised bed. You can plant it in ground. Garlic doesn't really care, and it takes up very little space. The only thing that garlic needs is some good soil, ample moisture during the time that it needs moisture, dryness when you need it to be dry, and that's about it. That's all it really needs. We plant our garlic in full sun so that we can get the biggest bulbs. If you plant it in an area of the garden that gets a little bit of shade, that means you're gonna get smaller garlic heads because they have less light to photosynthesize. So I've got a raised bed here. Luckily, I've topped it off with a little bit of soil, and actually, come here, check this out. This is funny. So this is actually a garlic clove that I must have missed that is sprouting in the bed, and it's from last year's garlic production. So what happened was, I'll be vulnerable and I'll be real with you. I made a mistake. I had my garlic in here. I forgot to turn off my irrigation. I had a bunch of soft net garlic in here. And when I went to go pull up the head of garlic, they all fell apart. And I tried to dig out as many as I could. Obviously, I missed a few because they're germinating or sprouting in my bed right now. I don't care, gonna let it grow. I got some free garlic for the next year, not a big deal. So bed prep. whether you're planting in a raised bed or you're planting in ground, it's very important that you prep your soil. So I've actually topped this off with some sifted compost from our compost. Garlic enjoys organic matter, and it wants to stay moist the whole time it is growing, except the last 6 to 8 weeks of its lifespan. And so it's really important that you have soil that is going to hold on to moisture. This has a lot of organic matter, and you can see I actually have a grow oya here as well, which I stuck a little irrigation head in, which means that I've always got a moisture reservoir in here. And you can see it's light, fluffy, nice soil. If you're doing in-ground planting, make sure you work the soil, whether you're doing it by double digging, whether you do a light tilling. You want the soil to be light enough that you can make a nice little indentation in your soil, break apart your cloves and plant them, and you make sure that you plant them pointy side up, right? This is where the roots will form on the garlic. So my soil is so light and fluffy that I can actually just dig these garlic cloves right into the soil. It's very simple. Now, this is cool to see because this is actually a hard neck garlic. And you can tell because, well, there's the hard neck. That's the center piece of the garlic that holds it together, and it's hard. That's where the name came from. So if you're wondering whether you're planting a hard neck or a soft neck, just basically look for the hard neck. Now, what's interesting about hard necks is they are the only garlic that's going to give you garlic scapes. Scapes are really important because they give you another product that you can eat from your garlic, and that is delicious, amazingly flavorful garlic scapes, which are basically the immature flowers of garlic. So I'm gonna keep going in here, and look, I'm not being super scientific about this. I'm giving it about 4 to 8 inches of space. I'm sticking them in the ground. I've got them planted in here. The next big thing that's really important is I want to give this a really good watering. And I want to do that because, as I mentioned, garlic wants to remain moist during its first part of its life cycle. So basically from the time that you plant the garlic clove till about 6 to 8 weeks before harvest, the soil should remain moist. The last 6 to 8 weeks before you harvest, you turn off the irrigation because you don't want the cloves to rot. You want the papers to dry up and form a nice solid paper covering around the bulbs. And you want to ensure that they don't disintegrate, like I said, what happened with my soft neck. So I'm going to water really good here. If you guys watched our other videos, you know that on our farm, we actually put a very deep layer of straw on top of our garlic. I'm not going to do that for this raised bed because I don't need it. I know that this is on irrigation. This is going to have plenty of moisture. I don't have problems with weeds or anything like that. But if you're planting in ground, particularly in an area like with drip tape or areas that maybe the irrigation isn't absolutely fabulous, put down a very thick layer of straw to hold in the moisture, keep the weeds at bay, and make sure that the soil is evenly moist. So now that I've got these planted, I'm going to ensure that my irrigation is on, that it's going off at an adequate interval to keep this raised bed nice and moist. I'm going to fill up my grow oya here so that I know I have a water reservoir to keep this bed moist in case we get a really big hot streak or, you know, God forbid, the irrigation doesn't work or something like that. I have a nice little backup with this water reservoir with the oya. Now what'll happen is in anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks, I'm gonna start seeing little green pieces coming up out of the soil. And it looks like I accidentally broke this little guy, but you'll see little tiny green sprouts coming out, and that is your garlic. At that point, there's really not a whole lot else you have to do except keep it moist, let it grow. If you have particularly bad soil, not a lot of fertility, a quick dose of fish emulsion might be a good idea if you really want to get them up and growing. I know that when I built this bed, I put in some organic granular fertilizer. I know there's really good fertility in here, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to let them grow. We are in September. Now these are gonna grow from September all the way until July. So a common mistake people make is they actually harvest their garlic way too soon. Your garlic is gonna grow for 240 days or more. So that's a really long time. That's basically from September well into June or July. At the point that I think that they're about done growing, which I can tell because the greens on the leaves will start to fall over and they'll just look like they're puttering out, I'm gonna turn off the irrigation and then I'm gonna leave them there for 6 to 8 weeks longer. You'll actually notice the soil pull away from the bulbs and the bulbs will be very visible. And at that point you can simply grab it, pull it up out of the ground, and it's ready to be harvested. Now the curing process is important for garlic. It's really important that you let it dry out in a shady place with plenty of air circulation. We actually just toss them right here in my greenhouse with a box fan. And that's gonna ensure that they're not gonna rot in the fridge, or they're not gonna rot before I either consume them or we resell those garlic cloves as garlic seed. If you've bought garlic from us or watched any of our other videos, you know that we often mention vernalization, or the process of taking your cloves or your garlic bulbs that you've harvested and putting them in the fridge anywhere from 30 to 60 days prior to planting them back out. Now the reason is, for us in zone 9 and 10 in Southern California, our winters do not get cold enough to adequately vernalize or expose them to cold temperatures, the garlic cloves, so that they sprout. So we just hedge our bets, we put it in the fridge, and then we ensure that the garlic is actually gonna sprout very quickly and very easily. For those of you that are in colder climates, you can ignore that, because let's think about how it happens when you plant it out. You plant it out in the fall, you have naturally very cold winters, so the cloves are exposed to cold soil temperatures. Then spring rolls around, it warms up, and what happens? The plant says, time to sprout, I'm gonna grow, it's spring, and then you get the rest of the story. For us here in Southern California, we have to trick them into being exposed to a winter or vernalizing them so that they can adequately sprout. So if you've ever bought garlic and you've stuck it in the ground and you live in San Diego, especially if you're close to the coast, and they didn't sprout, bam, that's the reason why. So that's a great little tip for those of you who are close or live in our particular region. Now, again, garlic is super easy to grow. You can grow it in a little pot on your patio, you can grow it in a raised bed, you can grow it in the ground, it doesn't matter. And if you love the flavor of garlic, I really recommend that you check out one of our many varieties that we carry online, because the flavor is superb and it totally changes depending on the variety. Chinese red is way different than Sicilian. Sonoran is way different than German white. You can really use those garlics to take your cooking to the next level. So if you haven't planted garlic, please be my guest, give it a try. You won't be disappointed.